Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Season 1, Episode 4 of Secret Invasion. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we're picking up in the aftermath of last episode where Gaia supposedly died. And now, obviously, the million-dollar question was that really Gaia? Was that another Skrull pretending to be her? But, why would that be? And even if they shifted at the end, you wouldn't be able to hide that. So you figured that Gravik would have just been okay, I recognize that this isn't Gaia, but it turns out she made herself into a super Skrull. She gave herself the healing ability of extremis, whatever that thing's name is. Which I'm wondering, as we saw with Gravik, he has multiple abilities as well. So I'm wondering, does she only have time to give herself one? Is he the only one? Has he dished that out to anyone else? Or has he been experimenting only on himself? Because we haven't really witnessed any other Skrulls having the abilities to the extent that he has. So maybe he's the only one. And it seems like at the bare minimum, he has two powers. He has the extremis and he has Groot's powers. So beyond that, we don't know what else. He might have downloaded into his own DNA, but I don't know. Maybe it was only a time sensitive situation. Gaia may have only had in time to give herself one ability, so she's still alive. You would assume Gravik would have gone back to kind of check on that body, but it's I got bigger plans. I don't have time to really deal with that, so I'll leave it. She's not even worth why worry about the body. The fact of the matter is, we'll leave it to rot. She was a traitor, betrayer to us, so who cares? I found the mole, that's all that matters, But I think you can make an argument too, it's this cockiness of I'm so smart, I'm so amazing, I rooted out the mole, and, I'm gonna go about my business because I know I've won, that he's so conceited that didn't even cross his mind. Maybe because he doesn't know that she was looking into some of the files, so she already knew about some of the abilities on hand, so she probably pieced it together enough to be right, so I'm going to give myself a power so that in case he ever does find me out, if I get found out and they try and kill me, I'm able to come back. So another element we're picking up with from the last episode is Priscilla meeting up with Rhodey. And that's so interesting because obviously the episode began with Priscilla and Fury meeting in 2012 after the events of the Avengers movie. It's all those people. And she's the moment I saw them together, it kind of felt like there was some powerful guy behind him. It's that you were the one that kind of put him together. He's yeah, and if I was. It was kind of this sweet moment that they had, especially when they were referencing this particular poem about to be someone's beloved and to feel beloved, And it's kind of is this what is it that you want? And was it kind of worth it all in the end? Essentially is what you extrapolate from that. And it's just kind of obviously that was them a couple years into their relationship, into their circumstances. I mean, we don't even know if they were married at that point in time. They might have just been dating at that point, but yeah. And to have that conversation with Rhodey, which obviously everyone's kind of right, it's got to be Rhodey, right? Rhodey's got to be the Skrull. Last episode made you go, it seems like it could be Rhodey. And since Priscilla talked to him, but it's yep, in fact he is. But obviously the million-dollar question then becomes, well, when did Rhodey get replaced? When has Rhodey been a Skrull? Was it Civil War when he got hurt and he got replaced? Or was it before then? Has he technically been a Skrull the entire time that Tony's known him? I forgot. I don't know how far back their friendship goes in this continuity. I don't remember. Obviously, it goes back to 2008, bare minimum, but obviously it goes back even further than that. I don't remember if they're childhood friends or not. I don't think they are, but I think they've known each other for a very, very, very long time. So that's a million-dollar question of right, so whatever happened to the real, how long has the real Rhodey been out of the equation? Because that could get into some complicated territory. That could be some, Yelena finding out, wait, my sister died 5 years, my sister died to bring me and half the universe back type of situation of right, it felt like an instant, same thing for Rhodey. It could have been after getting hit by Vision's blast in Civil War, it's oh, boom, he wakes up and it's oh, where's Tony? Wait, what do you mean it's 2025 or 2026 now? Wait, what do you mean Tony sacrificed himself to save half the universe and kill Thanos in it? You know, so there's a lot there. So I'm curious to see when this switch ended up happening. But Rhodey's telling Priscilla, like, hey, you have to kill Fury. It's either one of you is going to go in, both of you are going to go into that house. One of you's coming out. Whether it's him catching a bullet or it's you, it's going to be what it is. It's like, is this what Gravik wants? It's like, you know, why would you go through the trouble of firing him if Gravik wants him dead? It's like, don't worry about whether Gravik wants him dead or not. I'm giving you the orders and I'm telling you this is what's going to happen. So. But she's trying to excuse it, but like, well, he's lost a step. He's not the same, you know, man on top of things that he once was. So he's tired. The fact of the matter is just let him live out his life and he'll eventually die because he's wearing himself thin as is. But it's like, no, that's cute. No, you're going to kill him or you're going to find out what happens to you. So Fury listened to all of this, and that whole sequence between him and Priscilla felt very Mr. and Mrs. Smith, especially when, like, okay, so she's not on to, well, Priscilla's not on to Fury, but Fury's on to her, and it's like, oh, forgot about my wedding ring? Yeah, it came through the back, so obviously it kind of slipped my mind, and it's like, you know, for him, you know, sitting down and, finally getting, I get the way he talked about it made it seem like he never heard the story about the real Priscilla. I guess he never really bothered asking because he thought, and I think it's actually really sad when it's like, right, you've been together for decades now and you find out the person you're in love with isn't who you thought they were. Because you were thinking, hey, maybe she wasn't this person, just maybe she changed because of the time I was going with the blip and then also the time I was going when I was dealing with the whole Saber thing because I couldn't be here on Earth anymore. And I couldn't be there for her. I couldn't support her. I couldn't let her be there for me. I just deuces and bounced. But he probably thought in that time frame she changed, but now it's like, right, the Priscilla I've come to know, that was never really her. That was the real Priscilla. She adopted a lot of her personality, studied a lot of who she was because they actually became friends. I guess that's the person she was meant to imitate because it's like, right, imitate someone that's going to like disappear. You don't have to, you know, it's like she's going to die anyway. But, and it's like, made her promise 3 things. One was spread her ashes. What was like in the ocean or something? I'm blanking on it. She said wanted a very specific place to spread her ashes. Always be a daughter to my parents, which she has, which is actually even... It's one of those storyline things. It's kind of like, there's other stories that done it, and I don't want to... I'll go ahead. I'll talk about it without getting the specifics. It reminds me of like Haven and Fringe, where like a character gets replaced / killed, and you're just sad because you're like, man, the people in their life, in particular in Haven, it's just like, man, this character was pretty dope, and it turns out this person's been this person for a while, and it just makes you sad knowing like, oh, they're dead, and there's no coming back after this. It's just one of those things where it's just like, yeah, the real Priscilla is dead. She's gone, and her parents are none the wiser that because she almost, it makes it sound like she didn't take anything from Priscilla, like, because to be fair, you need the machines to like extrapolate, or maybe it is that thing of maybe Skrulls can take memories and stuff from a human, but maybe it happens, it takes a very, very long time. She spent enough time with Priscilla, so maybe like little by little she would take it, or maybe she just did it the very, very long way of just straight up getting to know her and her idiosyncrasies and just like every little aspect about her. And because she had told Priscilla, like Priscilla had told her, yeah, because this was definitely before, because this had to be in like 97, because like she hadn't taken a form yet, so she was out there picking a form and she met Priscilla, and Priscilla let her know like, oh yeah, like she's like, she told Priscilla, hey, I met someone, and it's like, right, I'm gonna take your form, and she gave me permission to take her form, but it's like, I was never really me, I was just playing the role of Priscilla this entire time, and so... You know, reciting that poem one more time, they pull the guns on each other, but they both miss, which I love Fury being like, I don't know if that's supposed to be a sign that we should get divorced or renew our vows, you know, but, you know, his wife asked, like, right, I'm gonna have to run because they will come after you, so I don't know if this is going to be the last time they see each other forever or just for a while, but she does ask, like, I wonder if you got to know the real me, would you still love me? And he's like, I guess we'll never know, you know, because their entire relationship was based on a lie of like, you weren't even, like, I knew you were putting on a human face, but I thought at least when you're putting on this human face, you are still you with me. But it turns out that was never the case. You've never been fully you with me. And I thought this was a relationship where we could, like, the one place, Fury could fully be himself, and it seems like he was, without holding anything back, obviously with the exception of more recent years, but just to find out the whole relationship was based on this lie, fabrication of you weren't the person I thought you were, you're not the person I fell in love with, because that person was never you, it was the real Priscilla, you just hid away the real you deep down, which I think is ironic considering, like, right, you're dating a Skrull, you were married to a Skrull, but it's a different thing where it's like, okay, I thought, right, you might be disguised as Priscilla, but I thought you were still being you. What's her character's name, like Vara or something like that? I thought you were just being you. Then there's the whole situation of Fury visiting Rhodey. Is like, oh, you came to your place. It's like, no, you broke into my place. Okay, broke into your place. And it's like, oh, taste this $5,000 bottle of alcohol that's made out of pure 24 karat gold. And it's like, if you go ahead and toss it out, because he's like, yeah, there's no poison in it. Maybe some nano trackers. It's like, nano trackers. And they're kind of laughing about it. It's like, yeah, because if you don't do this, your ancestors will come back from the past and they will strangle your black ass for missing out on this. So having some fun. It's just like, I do like that kind of the spycraft of like, right, you have to keep your composure of like, man, I want to strangle the shit out of you right, but I'm going to keep it cool, calm, and collected. It's like, yeah, let me tell you, you might have fired me, but you should know there are Skrulls so close to the president, as close as you and I right now. And it's like, okay, if you're going to keep up with this nonsense, I'm going to have to release this video showing you, Gravik, shooting Maria. And it's like, oh, what are you going to do? Run around and tell people like, hey, there's like a 6-foot bald black man, one-eyed dude that's an alien. It's like, to be fair, we've dealt with shapeshifters before. I mean, granted, how many people know about Loki's like illusions and stuff making? Like, I don't know how much general knowledge that is. Plus, we've seen light elves can shapeshift. To be fair, that was a very, very, very local, like, small court thing. And that wasn't publicized necessarily. Probably the aftermath of it was, but the ins and outs and the minutiae, it's like, right, it's probably such a small case. No one's like, wait, we do know there's light elves, at least one that can shapeshift into other people because she was pretending to be Megan Thee Stallion, so. But I think it also plays into the whole, like, well, you're going to seem like a nut job, but it's also like, yeah, but this is also the Marvel universe where the planet has been invaded multiple times. Once again, everyone remembers, hey, remember in 2012 when, but also it's like, yeah, with everything going on between the different countries, you look at that as kind of like, oh, that's a scapegoat, especially when you have higher enough people in the respective governments to be like, he's so full of shit, like he's lying. Like you have enough people that, would be against you in high powerful positions to make you seem crazy. So they'd be able to sell the lie. So it's not like it'd be completely out there. High ranking people could be like, no, we looked into it. It turns out it really is Fury. To be fair, he was in the country. So you're going to say like, oh, this wasn't you, but this was you. Yeah, so it's kind of I guess, borderline catch-22 of it all. And it's like, yeah, he has multiple videos of it. And it's just kind of like, just that forcing Fury to look at his failure too, of like, right, played right into Gravik's hand and he's got you by the balls. And also, you lost Maria in the process because of it. I wonder, are we ever going to find out who the Skrull that is Rhodey, who they really are? Maybe they're not someone significant enough to really know. Once again, Gravik's being set up as like the Super Skrull, but I'm wondering if we're going to have the end result where it's like actually the Skrull that became Rhodey becomes the Super Skrull. At the same time, Gaia and Talos are having their conversation because, it's like, right, he regrets, it's like, I shouldn't have put you in this position. She's like, right, I don't want your pity. I just want to know when this is all said and done, what are we going to do? He's like, right, we'll help out the humans by like stomping out this whole Gravik thing, and then basically I'll walk over to the president, let him know about us, and kind of be like, hey, you kind of owe me, like this whole like invasion that was happening, yeah, I kind of helped stop it, so you kind of owe me, so it's going to give us some amnesty here on this planet. And it's like, right, we'll show them, it's like, but don't you want to live on a planet where we can be ourselves? He's like, yes, but we also got to be realistic. We're like cohabitating on a planet. This ain't our planet, it's the host planet. So once again, based on what Fury said, I think there's still validity to it. And I think Talos is kind of taking that into this conversation with Gaia of the hosts do set the rules. So, but if we show who we are, that we're good, if we show them our heart and show them that we're really good people, like, I know it'll all work out. But for Gaia, it's like, you were so naive and optimistic. Like, the fact of the matter is, that's not who we are, and that's not who I am. I haven't been that person in a very long time, because she's grown up, much like Gravik, angry and jaded, and she's like, I just don't see, like, at the end of the day, Gravik's plan, you might not agree with it, but it is going to lead to us having a planet after you and Fury and Carol have failed to get us a planet for decades. So there's that. Especially for her, it's like, right, at least she had Gravik's group and made her feel like, yes, I am, like, I found a new home, but not the only home she has is her dad, but he's got these naive pipe dreams about how this is all going to play, and she's just like, so I can't follow behind, because I don't believe in that BS. That's you, because I think it's like, you kind of want to believe that there's good in us, but it's like, we've shown how, like, so quickly ready to go to war we were, you know, when it came to the Kree and everything, and also the whole situation of how quickly, I mean, not quickly, been in a couple decades stewing in it, but how ready so many are to exterminate humanity for the purposes of making this planet our own. The president is on his way for a meeting, and obviously Rhodey's there, and gives Gravik the go-ahead, and because they're going to pretend to be Russia, they kind of once again further instigate all this stuff. And so things pop off, cars, explosions, people dying left and right. Going back to it, Gravik and his abilities. Seemed like he basically went full group and just straight up squished and crushed that guy. I was like, Jesus. Because I was wondering if that was going to be the guy's body, like, breaking. Like, was it going to, like, kind of almost, like, squish him so much that he implodes or something? But it was like, no, it's just the branches, because he was squeezing so hard, the branches from his hand transformed, like, were, like, I think, breaking. I think because he was squeezing that hard. And I think this kind of just is kind of this poetic scene of, like, all this firing going around, and Rhodey just sitting there calm as can be while all these shots are going. He's like, okay. Just like that, just that scene is just so, like, interesting. It's just so, like, the calm and cool collected operator, because I'm like, I know what's going on. I don't have to worry about getting hit. Everyone else is sure dead, but I'm just going to stay here and, you know, continue to play my role. It's like, if you're not even playing it up as Rhodey, you're just saying so calm and collected. But most people are probably like, well, that's War Machine. He's been in terrible situations. And a situation like that, I'd be like, why aren't you calling out your armor, Colonel? But maybe it's like, because I don't know if they really ever really, maybe they have in, like, Iron Man 2 or 3 have gone into the whole, like, maybe he can't just suit up however he wants to, like, he might need, like, the Sokovia Accords have been, like, abolished, so I'm like, rescinded or whatever, so I'm like, I don't know if his armor would technically fall into that category of whether he need, like, government permission to use, because he also is a member of the military, so I'm sure as War Machine, his armor falls under that category too, so he can probably only ship out as War Machine when they allow him to. That's my thought process. I'm probably, like, thinking way too much about it, but just, I don't know, I've never really given that much thought until now. Like I said, maybe Iron Man 2 or 3 covered that. It definitely, definitely don't remember it coming up at any other later point, but it feels like that could be like a Iron Man 2 or 3 thing of, with the whole, King only uses armor when the, army gives him the go-ahead. Talos luckily got to the, president, I thought that was such a beautiful effect. I'm sure, like, maybe there was a little CGI there. I don't think it was probably all makeup, because that probably, I mean, who knows, like, what that would, I mean, it's most likely, like, a combination of two, but, like, the fact is, like, he's, like, halfway transforming. Like, if that was makeup, Jesus, that takes a lot. So it had to be, like, with added, like, once again, I know, like, I think them as Skrulls is 100% makeup, but, like, that particular effect where he's, like, halfway transforming back into a Skrull form is, like, gotta be CG, but still, I love how that, because it's like, because it takes a lot of concentration to hold that form. It's got to be kind of almost like second nature, like breathing. But it's like, yeah, I've got a bullet wound, I'm in pain, and it's keeping me from focusing, and I'm probably losing blood, and like I'm conscience is drifting in and out. I'm trying to smash open this glass. They were able to get to the president, but the problem is the one that got Talos is Gravik in disguise, and he stabs and kills Talos. once again, that creepy moment when his face gets shot and like it looks like molten lava and his eyes turn back and they're red like that. I was like, ooh, because I think that's the whole thing of like what he's pulling from is also because I think they even referenced him at one point in time. Isn't that oh god, I'm blanking on his name from Iron Man 3. Not even the character's name because I definitely don't remember, but the actor, Guy Pearce. Because he kind of had a little bit of something like that going on, but because I don't remember I don't know if that's connected to the Extremis. I don't know if that's what that is or not, or whether that's something else. But now it's like, right, did Talos die? And it's like, Fury can't do anything for him. It's like, right, I got to get the president out of here, fill him in on about everything. But it's like, will he believe me? I mean, everyone there saw Talos transform, and that seems like that's solidified. It's like, I think that's the interesting parallel. Hey, your daughter died. Oh, she's actually alive, but now you died. Especially you guys weren't on the best of terms. And she already lost her mom, so now it's like, well, that group was responsible for killing your mom. They're also responsible for killing your dad, too. If what we see is the case. I mean, in his cockiness and considering the circumstances, Gravity didn't have a chance to really determine whether or not this death was for real. To be fair, he still believes that Gaia is dead, so that's going to be quite the rude awakening when it turns out she's alive, especially when she's motivated by wanting her get back, for her dad. So we'll see. I mean, is this really the end? Is it really going to play out like that? Or is there going to be more to it? Like, he wouldn't have ever had time to use the machine like she did, so it seems like he might be gone. And it's just like, every time Fury's turning around, it's like, right, Rhodey, turns out he's a Skrull. He's been one for a while. Once again, we have no idea how long. For him, it's like, oh, my wife ended up not being who I thought she was, so that's cool. Oh, now Maria Hill's dead. Cool. Talos is dead. Cool. People around me are going away, like, crazy, and it's my own fault for not being here and holding on to them tightly. I was just so caught up in my own shit that I just couldn't stay on Earth post blip, and maybe if I had still kept my edge, if I hadn't lost my edge, maybe my one good eye could have seen this all coming. Maybe I could have done something to prevent this. Maybe I should have done so much more in the past. Like, this is all a byproduct of my failure in the past. I mean, to be fair, it's also on Talos for bringing like 1 million Skrulls here, and once again, we have no idea who and where all of them are scattered around this planet, so kind of a bummer, because I knew that the director had said, the showrunner / director was it Ali Salim, I believe? I could be mistaken. I think he had said, like, the episodes were going to be considerably shorter. Because the first two were, like, 50 minutes. I was like, oh. Because he said that, like, I think that had come out after the first episode. And I saw episode 2 was 50. I was like, oh, is that going to be... But then, like, last week's episode was, like, 40-some. And this is, like, 30-some. I'm like, okay. I'm sure they're going to probably stay about this range. They'll probably be, like, 30-some... Probably 35 to, like, 40 minutes, probably. For the next 2 episodes. Because that's all that's left. So, how this all plays out, how this potentially gets resolved... It's definitely going to be interesting to see. I know a lot of people are either like not watching the show and some don't really like the show. People have their criticisms, and that's okay. But I'm thoroughly enjoying the show. I know that's probably not the case with everyone, but I'm really interested and invested to see how this ultimately all ends up playing out over the next 2 episodes. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good